And they van us in and they lock it in with TSA, because you go through a gate down the jetway.
So you don't have to do that job.
Right. And when you get to O'Hare, they open up the gate, go through TSA checkpoint, you're on the runway, drive you to the gate. You go up this up staircase or ladder, and then.
Again, you got a plane.
No, I'm.
Nice. They just go.
Oh, we had a portrait called me. Said to go once later.
Oh,
I guess.
I call to order the committee of the whole. It's Tuesday, November 18. Oh, please.
Oh, we need a roll call, and then we need a, before we have a vote.
Simon,
Here.
Rhoda,
Here.
Babcock,
Here.
me,
Here,
Wright. And Gustafson.
Here,
now we need the vote.
I make a motion to have trustee Simon chair the meeting.
I'll make a second.
I'll make it third. It's unanimous.
Me,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Wright. Yes, I'm sorry. Rhoda
Yes.
and Babcock.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now we're gonna start with the approval of minutes. So the approval minutes from the meeting of whole for November 4th, 2025. Roll call for a motion approval.
I think we're gonna lay
We
them
have to lay
over.
them over the next one. Because it's-
Sorry,
Technically, they're there, they're just not in the.
They're just not
They're
out.
in the SharePoint, they're not in the link.
we'll figure out what we did. I did wrong.
All right. I make a motion to lay them over to the next meeting.
Second. We did.
Babcock,
Yes.
Rhoda,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
Me.
Yes.
Public comment, is there any public comment? Okay, old business, there's no old business, new business. Discussion recommendation for the map amendment, rezoning 54 properties. To the new adopted districts, MSC Main Street. Or MSE Main Street Edge as listed below. Attorney Green, do we need to read all of these or how do we proceed with this? There's 54 of them.
Well, no, you do not need to read them all, and you can entertain a motion to approve the map amendments. The rezoning of the 54 properties as provided. There is, and we can have some discussion until kind of in our Hillary. We have the 54 properties. The motion at the plan at the ZBA excluded 7 properties, and the 7 properties are listed at the bottom. Look at your agenda. The two shopping center properties, and then the entire block that on the map is at the south end. Lots 50, 51, 52, 53, and 54. So you can entertain a motion to approve all the lots for zoning change, excluding the 7 identified on the.
Do I need to have a motion before we do something?
We didn't do a public comment either, did we?
You did.
Yeah, I call it.
Did you? Okay.
Did you want to have some, I know you were concerned.
I only have a concern on one parcel. I know the attorney that represents that parcel is here tonight. Thank you for coming again this evening. So I'm allowed to just.
Yeah, you can talk.
All right. So the only one I'm seeing an issue with in this, I know the entire parcel 6, when you look at the map of what's being zoned, that's all pre-built. I don't see somebody coming in and changing that structure. It's beautiful. And on 8, the bank is there. It's also pre-built. My concern is across the street from the school is an ample space to develop. I would want to make sure that there was something there that would have to be brought to the new zoning that the rest of the area is going with. Because number 7 will be in that new zoning, number 11 will be in that zoning. And that's,
You're talking about lot number 6.
talk about lot number 6 and 8.
Sorry.
I'm talking about 8 specifically.
Identified as 8.
One that's identified as 8, yes. On the map, so it's the one Joe just pulled up on Williams Drive.
Right.
That would be my only concern, like I don't see an issue until it gets developed. But I would want to make sure, because if you blow it up big enough, or if you've been there, there's a whole lot of frontage right there. That's not part of the parking lot, that could be developed for more storefronts to continue. That's my only concern, so I wanted to have a discussion with it, because we couldn't do that at CBA. It's just a hearing.
So at the ZBA, it was excluded.
The ZBA were recommended to exclude 6, 8, 54, 45, 47, 48, 49, and 46.
Well, that's close, but I believe it was 50 through 54 at the south end.
It's this bottom,
It's that, it's that.
Oh. Okay, because I was under the impression that 45 and 47, that was where the biggest argument was.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
no, sorry, you're right, no, it's,
So-
it's 45,
It was,
it's a
and
square.
that's what I pointed out when I
That's fair.
testified at the hearing, that 45, 47
Yep.
is, they thought it was single family zoning, it's actually multifamily zoning now.
I think you're right, and I was wrong. Will you, zoom out? All right,
Yes.
it was that.
Yeah, that's
Sorry,
corner of bridge and, nope, I mean.
I'm sorry, you're
Not a
right.
problem, I just wanted to clarify where we're talking, because I know it was important for the owners of those properties. I did recommend after the meeting when we spoke that if it is some historic homes, which they say there are historic homes, I would recommend applying for some kind of historical status for those at that time. But right now, they're currently non-conforming multifamilies, and they're both single-family homes on lot 45 and 46.
What confused me is the last five have the exact same, well, not quite, 001, 002, yeah. I looked at it wrong. You're right. Not a problem.
But that would be my only concern. I
So
don't
do
know
you
if that'd
want
be
to
an
discuss, do
issue.
you want Attorney Rodriguez to come up and address that, or?
I mean, I'm just asking for
Number 8.
for number 8, yes. Like, I know there's no plan for development right now, but I would hate to like go to do it and then it winds up not conforming them with the new zoning, which is right at it flat.
Does he understand what lot, what parcel we're talking about? You wanna,
Come on up.
you
Come on
wanna
up,
represent
Joe.
your client?
I think and Joe chime in, or Kelly chime in, the two sides of the story are the developer of the shopping center that is the lot immediately to the north there. Wants both of his lots removed. The lot 8 could be rezoned to this zoning at any point in the next 2, 10, 15 years. Your point is,
My
let's
point
do
is,
it now.
let's do it now
Do it
because
now.
11 is pretty much a vacant lot. It has a shed on it. 7, if somebody wanted to come and maybe the owner of that square gets a great deal for that property, the bank stays where it is and the rest of that all gets developed. I want to keep it zoned that would streamline the developer, or maybe if they want to develop it sometime.
Do you interest the history of those, why that's split?
Well, yeah, so I actually represented the previous owner of the center as well. It was split mainly so that liquor licenses could be obtained for the back part of the center.
So it's too close to the school.
Too
before
close to the
it's front.
schools, so we subdivided it, created 2 parcels. So that liquor licenses for some of the bars, so there was a restaurant at the time too.
So there was a crazy llama at first, like,
Yeah, well, there's Crazy Llama, there's
Now-
Benny's now, there's a slot place in the northeast corner. So, I guess as far as changing 8, I mean, we kind of look at the center as one parcel, even though it's 2. I don't know that you could develop 8 and still have a viable shopping center because there wouldn't be enough parking. Especially if you were going to add new commercial use along the road on 8. I don't see that as practical or, probable that someone would want to do that. I can tell you now, my client would never develop 8. He's not in the business of developing shopping centers. He just runs, what he has. And I don't know that it would even be viable to put any more commercial space along that. And still function as a shopping center. There wouldn't be any parking.
right, let me.
I mean, there'd be some parking, but I don't think it'd be adequate to support what's existing now and to support new commercial
The
use.
red is very hard to see it, because,
It's across from the school.
right, well, the existing parking lot, half of the property, it's hard to see it, but if you blow it up, Joe, yes, most of the parking is here with tree line, but then there's that whole green space, which if somebody wanted to develop could, it wouldn't take away any parking from there, and you would just have the storefront space in the parking lot. Can I? Point something. I'm talking this area right here, there's the parking lot. It's hard to see with the shading on it the way it is. But this space is green space. That's the entrance to the parking lot. This is the parking lot for these shops. This is all overflow parking for this part of the center. If this was to be developed, it would face in, would not take away parking. This could even do the same if it was put together. That's why I'm just concerned about leaving something behind when there's such small parcels into the two sides of it. That was my only concern. I'm like, you guys might not agree. I'm just saying, I wanted to have a discussion on it to make sure we were all on the same page. We put a lot of effort into the zoning.
I think you could look at it both ways, right? If they're not gonna develop it, then you could technically rezone it when it goes to development, right? You could do that if that ever goes that. Or you could do it now, but he's not gonna do anything with it anyway. So to me, it's,
I was just trying to save a step and streamline. We were already.
On that argument, you'd go with the developer, you'd go with the owner and say, if this is what the owner wants, let's not do it. We can always do it in 5 years, or we can always do it in 10 years, and it doesn't. Well, I mean, I'll defer to Hillary maybe, but it doesn't destroy the concept of what we're trying to do.
Correct. I also think that if we're trying to meet like developability and like setbacks and things of that nature, it would be a challenge to do, like subdividing this lot. It would need to be added to another lot or combined in some capacity.
So in that case, so then I'm concerned of why was this even, because 7 is too small to do on their own. If 8 and 6 aren't gonna be in that zone. I mean, I don't know why it was even there to begin with then, if that's.
Okay.
Okay, so we should probably pull 7 out of that zone as well, because
The intent was that these intersections have the most current business or current traffic as is, that they could sustain a higher intensity development, or they could be most likely redeveloped in the future. So I can go either way with you on that. I'm just saying I'm thinking how to connect parcels and how cross-access easements and all of the things that would need to go into play for it to be developed as something. It would have, it'd be a lot. Unless the owner was on board with it,
And I think from, our perspective, we wanted to keep the zonings consistent with the two parcels. In case my client doesn't want to sell them, he wouldn't want one to be in, one to be out. And then also just I know there were some discussions about this at ZBA about legal nonconformities and what does that mean? With respect to, if the bank building did burn down or something, could that even be reconstructed on that parcel now? Would have to comply with new setbacks. And to be honest, I didn't study the ordinance thoroughly, but I did see one spot where it said you had to have the minimum 50 or the max. What was it? You had to be at least 15 feet to the street. You couldn't be any further away than that. So I don't know how that would change the bank layout there too, if that would be practical, if something did happen to that building. So I guess just from our perspective, it's already developed. It's going to stay a shopping center. And we would just like to keep it with the zoning that it has now. And if, in the future it does come up, somebody could, rezone it if they wanted to move more to the downtown type development that you're looking for. So,
thank you very much.
yeah, thanks a lot.
you have a motion, John, or?
Are you okay with leaving it?
No, yes, I just wanted to have a further discussion, and the hearing was not the night to be able to get a discussion, so.
I mean, he has a good point. I mean, it's an excellent point, as it was made by others that night about the non-conformity. I mean, if you change it and the bank that building on 8 were to burn down, we wouldn't be able to rebuild it. Right. That would be a burden.
But on the same note, I just want to be aware that like that lot 7, which is smaller, right next to it, if that building burned down, which is a very small building, nothing would be built there. We wind up with another parking lot, or
There's a building on 7.
there's a building on 7, I actually know the owner.
That's the insurance agent.
That's State Farm.
So I'm just saying, like, if we're looking at the buildability, if that's actually a word,
I think it is.
of the parcels with the new zoning. And the ones next to it are not with there, where there'd be a spot maybe for his client to cut off a piece to help develop something there.
But
Want to
this,
keep all of it in there though.
Evan didn't ask to be,
No, he didn't ask at the meeting. So, and you didn't even ask me, I'm just playing devil's advocate on how the zoning works in that spot. I could see 9, 10, 11 all being together. I could see 1, 2, 4, 5 being together. And being like sold off and put into big parcels, or everything at Hodges Run across the road from there, but. With 6 and 8 being pulled out, I don't see a reason for 7 to be in there at this time, unless somebody came in and said they wanted to take a chunk from some parcel that again. Which as a parking lot, they wouldn't do it now.
What's the impact?
Well,
I mean, they can always come back and,
Well, the only impact is if after we approve the zoning at our next meeting and the building gets hit by lightning, gets burned down, then they can't rebuild that building.
well, they can come back and they can rezone it. No, at that point.
the other side to that too is like, no, I hear what you're saying. 7 would have more flexibility in the sense of being able to develop more. Or like not having to do as much parking, or, so there's different capacities that they could do that current opportunities don't exist for them. So. If something were to happen to them, they could develop more intensely or add more to that site to make profit from,
Particularly with that shopping center there too, you can see a time when you have a, 3-story or.
3-story office or something.
Maybe, but you would have it on that.
And you get the street frontage
Up
of it
to
too,
it,
if
the
you
frontage.
want, you know what I mean?
Okay.
That could, I mean, just also playing the other side of that too.
Right, and that's why I
Yeah.
just, before we move this on to the board of directors, I just wanted to make sure we had a conversation, because again. The zoning hearing was very educational, but it was more of a hearing, it was just not really a forum to go back and forth and. Have those devil advocate moments, and that's all I was asking. I don't want to waste any more time.
We did shut you down a couple times at the easy.
I know, because I'm used to having a conversation, I'm not used to not being able to respond to something.
For more. Okay, so where were we on this? Are we,
I think we're ready to move.
Now, we have the motion with the amended parcels, correct?
Yeah, and if you're gonna go with, as is, it would be a motion to, recommend rezoning of the lots excluding the
45,
7
whatever.
that are identified at the bottom of the,
Right, but at the bottom of our sheet, it was
right,
the wrong numbers, correct?
right.
So amending it to identify the new numbers.
Actually, the correct numbers are at the bottom of the.
Yeah, he just said.
I said them wrong.
Okay, no
The correct
problem. I
numbers
wasn't
are at
sure.
the bottom. The correct numbers are at the bottom. I just identified them wrong.
So I make a motion then to accept with the removal of the 7 parcels that were noted at the bottom.
To rezone all the other properties.
Rezone all the other properties, correct?
Okay, just question of clarification.
Boy, we have a motion pending. Go ahead and get a
I'll
second.
make a second.
Okay, now you go.
Okay, question is, as you look at parcels at the bottom that are excluded. These are the correct numbers, the ones ending in 020, 021, 001, 002, 003, 004, 005, all of those are correct?
I
Is that
so.
what yours?
I know that on the map, we have it as lot 45, 46, 47, 48, 49.
Last numbers.
Two, 210.
should we put the map up just to make sure we're correct?
Well, they also match on this sheet.
There, that's what you look at right there.
This is when they match.
Okay,
All right,
Disregard my yellow. I circled those. That was my mistake. They're correct on this sheet. That was published in notes.
all right.
I have to look at numbers 4 times. I have slight dyslexia, so
Yeah,
I totally understand.
I'm right there with you.
So we need to.
So I think the motion is correct and well, Trustee Steinman, did you want to ask for any more discussion?
No, let's go for a vote.
Call for a vote.
Rhoda,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes,
Mead,
Yes.
Steinle.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, number 3, discussion of 2026 meeting dates for the village board and the committee of the whole. I believe these are in the packet as far as the dates go. Pretty self-explanatory.
Only things that were changed from previous years are the election day, that gets rescheduled, new statute on that. And then we've got National Night Out on August 5th. We generally reschedule that to the Wednesday, obviously, for you guys can decide what you want to do on those. And then we're 4th as well. It's a normal Tuesday meeting, again, rescheduled due to election day. We have to reschedule it, whether you do the next day or whether you do it during the week, but we've got on the schedule next day. So,
I make a motion to approve these dates.
Second.
All right, call for a vote.
Babcock,
Yes.
Mead,
Yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Rhoda,
Yes.
thank you.
Item number 4, discussion and approval of the 2026 holiday schedule. It's in the packet here. I don't think there's any changes that are Joe from.
No, they're not. These are the same, previous years.
So moved.
Call for a vote.
Sima,
Yes.
Mead,
Yes.
Rhoda,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
thank you.
Item number 5, discussion and recommendations of certain items of personal property surplus and authorizing their disposal. Public Works, 13 chairs and 2 wooden desks.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Pretty open.
Babcock, Sima,
Yes.
Rhoda,
Yes.
Mead,
Yes.
Item number 6. Fiscal 2026 budget process discussing operating budget.
One part. Everybody's got a copy of the figured budget, operational budget. We'll have staff briefly go and highlight parts of their budget they want you to be aware of. I've got a couple points I'd like you to look at, think about. Everybody check out the link, have the link to the budget book, same version as this, except it'll be always up to date. So you have that one. You know, it's easier to search that way, otherwise you can always just go through the one on the agenda. I don't know, Sam, do you want to start? Do you have anything you want to just highlight on yours, differences from previous years? Yep.
One of the big ones is probably going to be our overtime budget. Originally, we had raised that budget up this year because we're going to be a part of, we started this year a traffic safety grant. However, with the bridge, Roscoe Road Bridge being out for 5 months, make sure that we are not gonna participate in traffic safety grant now, which was actually, we would got back all the money for the officers overtime grant money. But now we're gonna take that addition to the overtime and put it so make sure that we have adequate coverage both on the east side and the west side of the river due to proximity of the most closest roads in order to get to that side otherwise, along with contingency has gone up a little bit this year. And that was for a possibility of if we need like facilities or something for to operate on the west side. You know, for officers, for there's not much over there as far as businesses or anything else. So that would be also going up. I think that's the biggest changes. I know our, I know we have a lot of training, that budget, that line item is usually pretty large. And that is constantly going up just because of the state mandates. I think we did a little bit less this year, if I'm not mistaken. You know where that's at? What line item that is? Training 5530. 5530. It's at 47. I believe we're going down on that this year. Just because we're not doing the crash reconstruction stuff this year. However, due to state mandates, that's usually a pretty hefty line item. Just to meet our minimum standards. So, along with any other training that, I mean, there's a lot of training that comes up through the year that we don't anticipate or anything that we need to send our officers to. I think those are the biggest ones.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's our biggest change.
Yeah, I mean, those are the biggest changes to get, I know.
Everything else, I think it's pretty.
Yeah, I
much-
think overall, from last year to this year.
Yeah.
For the most part, I think we were pretty close last year to what we budgeted. So generally, I think we're pretty consistent from
I
last
think-
year this year across the board. There's obviously a few ups and downs you'll see in there.
The percentage of salaries also that are going up in January due to contractual requirements. I don't even think that we've released our budget to even hit that amount as to the English budget this year.
Right now, can I ask a question just on the actual budget details? I see what we're budgeted fiscal year 2026, but I see no number for 25. Being a new trustee, I'd like to know how much percentage we're going over that. When I'm looking at revenues, I have a 2-year comparison, so I can kind of see what we're losing and what we're gaining.
Yeah.
But as far as expenditures, I'm not seeing what we spent this year. I've only been here for half a year. I'd love to have it in one place instead of trying to find.
Yeah, the year date, I can put those on. I thought those were. I'll put those on there. Those are the same, those are the year dates that Mark does, but yeah, I will add those in. I think we are pretty well up to date through. Like August, September.
Well, I mean, even if
Yeah,
it's
October.
Maybe those in there, yeah.
The only thing you're not gonna see on there that we are looking for
I think what-
capital.
I think what he's asking.
Oh, just last year's budget.
Right.
Yeah.
He's looking at wrong.
I think you're asking, he's
Right
right
next
next
to
to
it.
revenue.
Yeah, that's.
Right, and the 26 predictions.
Yeah.
What he's looking for is if you take that fiscal year 25, he wants to see what was budgeted.
Well, like Chief said, like my overtime budget is higher than last year.
I have.
And I'm like, I don't even know what last year was.
Individual, I know you're asking,
But I didn't have it.
it's probably not individually per department, but yeah, I will add it to the main overall. Big list one as well.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
So yeah, because
Like
they're also
there,
in here on,
And we're at 200 for next.
Yeah.
year. All the overtime.
Yep.
And then I believe this year was 100.
yeah, I will throw that into the.
We just get that into our packet for.
And your audit, I poured through the 23-24 comparison, it was like, it's great. But we can't audit 25 until 25 is done, right?
Right.
But so all we can go by is historically.
Yeah.
So that's where we really, as far as going forward into 26, we.
Yeah, you need something that shows, okay, this is what we budgeted in 25, this is
Yeah.
what we're budgeting 26, well, with something going up or down, then you have.
Like I say, well, why is that now? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, those are in that, yeah, they're in that list, but they're individual full departments, but not in the full, and the list version. So yeah, I will add that as well this one.
I had a question for department heads, Chief Holly, Troy and Joe. Are any of you guys planning on or having this budget adding an additional headcount for 2027?
So I was gonna bring it up, I can start on that part. As I think we've got, I think we'll noted, I think we've had a couple of discussions about academic development, or community development director or academic development director. I would request that, that's a discussion we haven't really had. I've had a couple of trustees mention. Mention that.
Is it in here?
That is not in there, it's not. That's the request we made from last year, it was, sort of turned down last year. I think trustee Broda mentioned a search firm for 2 positions,
At
at
least,
least for
but
the.
at least
at
there
least
was
for one
money
position.
for, if
Yeah.
we needed it, we have it. If
Yeah.
we don't, we don't.
Yeah,
But then,
that's something, and you sort of see as we have Place Foundry here, as we have, or Hillary's gone, but we have Hillary. That position is for essentially department head of the community development. It's overseeing zoning, it's overseeing the planning, it's overseeing the economic development portion of it. That's the position we've missed here for quite some time.
so then economic development services general, that 100,000 would be what we're paying out for that, or is that's
That's
not a
probably
salary?
based on if we're gonna, from previous years, have some sort of money in there for. Yeah, either economic development consulting or some other type of service. So essentially, we could take that, transfer it, it would. Switch over, it wouldn't. Negate the need to have or to use a Place Foundry in some, or some, maybe not Place Foundry, some, the consultants would still have a role. But having that full-time person is huge, having a full-time person here to sort of oversee that, to be consistently through. To keep. How many hours we spend, in these meetings with, for zoning and for, the development stuff we have coming through here. But it's overseeing that whole department. And you would use Place Foundry or use another consultant to do maybe the small projects, and you'd say, okay, give us the report on I-90. But you have that zoning administrator, and for a village of our size, not to have a zoning administrator or a community development person, it's fairly rare, so.
Also headcount, like also looking at code enforcement as well, like where we're at them or how that contract is working.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah,
That's
we
what
talked
we're-
about that in August, but I haven't heard updates.
yeah, I'll have her send an update out.
Are they out there?
They're out there, they're doing a
They
lot,
are out.
they are doing a lot out there. Code enforcement, I think they're doing a good job. They're more expensive than having that part-time person, but the problem again with that part-time person is getting that person. Somebody, we don't need necessarily a full-time person in that position, but it's hard to find a part-timer for that.
Do we know like how often they take the car out? And that could be maybe an indication of how many times they're out there.
I'll give you, we'll send the report. I got the report. She sent us reports and I'll forward those to the trustees, to you guys. We have reports monthly, they're in the bills too, but we have the monthly report from her. All the code cases they do, and they do a lot. They do a lot of code cases out there.
Can we have year over year? Violations and.
The number, yeah, I guess the
Yeah,
numbers.
Yeah, from the previous year to this year, or so we have something to.
I'm not sure how good the comparison that will be, but I
Well,
guess we
just
do
a
it. Yeah,
ballpark
yes, we can.
difference,
Yes, yeah.
Well, there was a
yeah.
part-time guy had more revenue, you know.
Well,
I'm
I
just-
think that they're doing a lot. We've got a lot, they're doing a lot more citations, a lot more notices, a lot more letters are going out that they're doing. So I think they're doing probably more cases. So I guess I would say that it's worked out pretty well that way. I do have that, it's in the budget for that too, but we do have those reports that we can send out. They're more listings. That's one thing I need to get a little better with, is getting those reports to you, getting some sort of cohesive way of reviewing those reports, so you can sort of see what cases are going out there and what they're doing. Our first admin hearings, I think, are going to start we're switching our schedule around. They'll be in January. For those, but for the most part, we've had pretty good compliance. We sort of always have good compliance, but yeah, they're definitely out there. They're sort of our eyes out there. Also, again, when another sort of role that they'll be doing too is some more inspections. I know Brandon mentioned the new stormwater requirements we have, MS4 permit requirements we have. So they'll be out there helping Troy and helping his guys do some of those inspections. We'll get to pick up our inspections on what we do. And so they'll be out there doing that as well. I think that worked out pretty well. And then Troy's got somebody hiring right now, right? Yeah, it's a new position, I guess. Our buildings, that was a new position for this year. You want to see how that worked out? I think it worked out pretty well.
Yeah,
Having that buildings.
the building spot worked out great. It helped me out a lot. With, getting, contracts, quotes, meeting the contractors and stuff like that, helped out a lot in finding a lot of things on the buildings, cause it was, their main position was checking all the buildings, which we kind of, I'd say neglected for the past couple of, decades.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're interviewing some people for that position right now. And while we were at it, we were also interviewing for a public works spot for one of the guys that's gonna be retiring in March.
So these positions are reflected in the budget, so.
Those are reflected there.
Same.
Or status quo.
You have one open spot right now?
We have one open spot that we are going to be testing for in January.
And those are all.
And we have two in the academy right now. They'll be graduating in December and then heading into FTO after that, or some field training.
The only position that's not reflected in the budget, but I would like to request is, and I can go talk about this later on, but is that academic development director position. And there is, it's in your SharePoint site, there's a sample job description. Obviously, we can talk about that and work through it and decide and have that whole discussion. But at least maybe budgeting for that would be.
Yeah, I'd like to see how the structure would work and how, wording and those types of things. And you're saying that would come out of the 100,000 that you have in there?
We can move that forward, yeah, because that was generally for that general economic development consulting. One of the requests though that we would be adjusting, I think some of that is covered in, so I think trustee Broda requested and trustee Wright as well. I know we've had a little bit of discussion about the TIF implementation, so there's money, part of that that economic development consulting line item would be for a TIF, so that's in there, so we would have to add to it. I think the overall number, when I ran through it, and it's essentially the same as last year. We've looked at, comparables and communities, but it'd be the total wages, including, benefits, including everything, the salary would be, we'd be aiming for $80,000, and then maybe 115,546 would be the budgeted amount. Which would include the benefits.
And the 100,000 that John was referring to, that's not part of it, or that would be an additional?
I think what I would probably do is put that, maybe lower that a little bit, but I think we'd probably try making an additional number in there, so we'd increase the whole budget by 115,000. And we could adjust, we could pull back some of that.
And then can we have, like, so for the 100,000, can we get a little more details to what that would include?
Right now, I think
You said TIF.
that's part of it, yeah, a TIF really is the TIF, so the TIFs are expensive, I mean, if we're looking at 2 or 3 TIFs, which was a request.
Right, no, and that's what
That
I'm saying,
hits
because we
pretty
have,
quickly. If we're looking at anything with Place Foundry, I think we talked about tonight a little bit, that, adds up pretty quickly, so,
I know that is.
yeah, well, yes. And
That's why I was looking at this, because it was economic development general, 100,000, economic development services,
Yep.
special projects, another 20.
Yep.
Then, so I just wanted to know if that was
Yeah,
the same
something
thing.
more in the general description of what the other ones are.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's break those out.
Well, one thing to keep in mind though, while you're adding all of these things, is to what extent do your expenditures exceed revenue and the transfer you will have to make out of the funds to cover these expansions, and once you transfer those are dollars you don't have again for anything. We have a reserve policy, we have dollars over the reserve policy, but we seem to be in the habit each year of transferring funds to cover the shortfall. Just
Yeah.
saying,
No, I,
And currently right now, as is, this is not any capital projects, right, but as is, we are at a $700,000 deficit. Budget, however, generally, our excess, general fund balance right now is, $2.2 million.
Yeah, we just had her speak in the beginning of the meeting here.
Yeah,
And
that's generally what it's been the last 5 years. So that's our excess. And a lot of it, and a big part of it, and when she mentioned that too, is that's something, as we look forward on some of these big capital projects, when we start doing the CIP program, it's realizing that a lot of that has been from ARPA. That big chunk of money sort of floating through from ARPA. Do you offhand the interest? We've got a lot of interest we're getting from that. We're getting, quite a bit of interest. And then it's that big ARPA, pot that we've got in there. So as we start to talk about spending down we'll go over this next meeting on this portion of it. But as we start spending down those, capital funds and our fund balances, realize they're not necessarily being replaced every year. Currently, it's that big number we're sort of happy with, but as we spend those down, some of these big projects are gonna have to be sort of pushed out a little more, but. Anyway, so yeah, we can get later on, but that's the.
well, if you're
general-
moving $800,000 a year to cover a shortfall, and you have $2.5 million in excess, what is that, 3 years and you
where's the deficit?
reach zero? So you have nothing. There has to be a little more concern about expanding spending here, because there is the assumption the money will always be there, and that is not the case.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
no, I agree, that's why I think it's important to have job descriptions, finding out that we have, employees are the most expensive, but so we put in, we look at healthcare benefits and everything that's associated with it, so that's why it's. We really should have that thought out, so I appreciate you, getting a job, having the job description of that position, where's the money's gonna come from before you have that discussion. Does anyone else have any other discussions about the budget, for now? So.
Maybe I'm just not catching it, so I just want clarification. So I'm looking at our fiscal year 2026 draft budget, we're sitting here, I'm looking at numbers from 25 to 26, and everything's looking like we're budgeting less than we did last year. But you keep talking about a pot, you keep talking about the money, I have no idea where that is.
So
And I'm just being very upfront, because SharePoint, the data is all over the place. When I get access, I just tried logging in, took 3 tries to get logged in.
SharePoint, it's just that all it's gonna be, it's not gonna be SharePoint, it's just gonna be that link that I sent out earlier this week.
Which is just basically this here though, but now we're saying we have we have this other fund, we have money, I like
It's all like,
all of it together.
if you look at SharePoint, look in that link I sent, that's the full everything. The one you have printed out, I think is the full amount is the full,
This is the link.
okay, yeah.
And
If you look on the expenditures we have budgeted on there and the expenditures list there,
right,
it's 9.397 million, 9.4. Page 17.
so
I'm just pulling up on here, but that's the detail.
well, I've got 15 pages here, that link.
Then the revenues we talked about last time, those are on that earlier in that page 7 on that document, is 8.6. So that's what we're looking at, the different.
I'm just saying, I was looking at the link and not what I downloaded on Friday. So the link that just came now had 15 pages that came through. So that's where I was getting confused. So I went to what I wrote notes on then. I found all 29 pages from Friday. So maybe the link didn't download in here. I don't
Or just, I
remember.
guess, show me what you're looking at.
I'll-
I was looking.
I'll show you in a minute.
I don't think we need to have some type of training or something available for people for the ClearGov. I mean, it's obvious there's confusion. I've been saying this last year. It's not an easy system. I think that, you know, we're saying you could do this on your own and stuff. I really do think we have somebody come here and talk about, you know, all these other things. We should have a tutorial so we can all be on the same page. We all understand the same understanding. I've been asking for this for the last couple of times. So I think that I would recommend, or I'd like to recommend at the next board meeting that for the whole board meeting, that we actually have,
Go through stuff.
we go through it, put it on the screen, go through it. Everyone here can see what it looks like, what you're clicking on. Don's not confused, people aren't confused, we know what it looks like. Even just logging on and making sure you understand like where to look at for updates and things like that. It was a new system last year, and it's a lot that we had to put in there. I think that we need to invest the time to do it, so we are making educated decisions. So I would recommend that for the next meeting.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Thank you. And I think with that, I think that otherwise, I think we're just sort of spinning the wheel here.
Well, I have more questions, I guess. If we go through. So everything that's not in the budget, and this was requested by trustee Broga and Wright as well, was a subdivision village assistance program with a no interest loan from the county.
Yes.
That's not currently in, I guess we know more about that. I think I asked trustee Wright, he's like, just gonna explain it at the meeting, but.
And he's not here, okay, so one thing that we found out recently was that Winnebago County has their own CPACE program. And we could get, so if somebody wanted to build a subdivision, they always come to us and say, what can you give us, Village of Roscoe? And we're like, well, we don't have the money in the budget, we can't help you with a water line, we can't help you with a sewer line. They have a $700,000 grant that's interest-free that paid back over 5 years. We could move from our budget over the 200,000, I believe, that's put to the side for land acquisition and pay that back in just over 3 years. And then you would get your reconnection fees and everything else that we would get back reimbursed to us as houses are being connected. So it was just something that I wanted to put in the budget to possibly look at, that it has to be used for certain things like development of housing, subdivisions, that kind of stuff. We're helping slightly with infrastructure, but it's one of those things where you're given the olive branch. Yes, this is what we could do for you. The county's for, because they get a bigger chunk of the tax. You know what I mean? So that's what we were kind of looking at with that.
So this would be a village program of the,
Well, the village would be able to get the money through Winnebago County's CPACE program, and Chairman Chiricelli would be more than happy to talk about it.
So we borrow from the county, is that?
Interest free, where it's a 5-year loan. You use the money now, you pay them back within 7 years. Instead of buying land to build little parking lots and stuff, we could use that money to pay that off quicker, Or we could do 150 grand a year and keep 50 in a reserve for that, or give them the 200 year, we're already budgeting year after year, whether we buy or not.
We're gonna have anything budgeted for land acquisition this year.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
And when you-
that's from what it was before, it's something that could be looked at. And this way you get some of that money up front. There might be some other uses for their CPACE program. That was also the lunch that we went to with the iPace program. Where we could offer certain incentives through the state as well.
Could we table this till the next meeting so we can have more information? You guys could have.
Well, yeah,
You know,
It was just Joe asked.
Yeah, no, I
what the general
think it's a
thought
good
was.
thought, and I'd like to see more about it.
Just thinking outside the box on where we can bring in more without just automatically saying, let's, you know.
We can see the specifics. I think that would be helpful.
So the big, yeah, so that's the big, those are the big key points mostly. So I bring the budget, operating budget, we've only got a couple things to talk about here on next time on those. But that's generally where we're at. So once we get those punched in, well, obviously we'll look at that, we can look at those numbers, and then we'll start working on the capital. Hopefully we'll have the capital stuff from Fairground for next board meeting. And then we can start figuring out what our fund balances are, what our revenues are, and sort of where you want to be at. So.
Well, and one thing also to President Gus's point, looking at the original one I downloaded, it's on page 17, looking at the sales tax, the local use tax dropping. We're estimating from 463,000 to 72,000. That's when I started looking at the MROT. I think we really need to have a deeper dive discussion and not just say it's like it's a 1% sales tax, because we're not gonna get it dollars for dollars. I agree with you. I spent hours looking it up and getting to know everything. After our last conversation we had about the tax, I really wanted to understand what you were speaking about with that. I do think it makes more sense. How do we get it implemented, or if everybody goes along with it? I'm not sure, but I see we have to think outside the box there. And I know there's other options we have as well that can work. So just setting aside time to have discussions on this and really just lay it all out of what the good is and what also the bad is when we do these things.
Can we lay out sort of the time frame of what's gonna happen here? So now we're at next.
That's my concern.
Next meeting, we're gonna have, you know, I do appreciate us having a tutorial walking through the budget on the screen. How to use ClearGov, what's put in each section, so we know what we're allocating for everyone, so there's no confusion. You know, so we can do that and bring up some of these other things that were discussed here tonight. And then based on that, you said we need to get operational numbers as well, correct?
Well, that's these numbers here.
Yeah. And then there would be a motion or movement once we get this done to move it to the village board meeting then.
I mean, so this is just operational budget, but then the big discussions may be the capital budget. So once we get that from Fairground, those capital numbers and
That's us.
yeah,
So that needs to be done, so like, I'm trying to figure out like.
next few meetings here.
All right, so our goal is to have the budget completed by.
Hopefully by the end of January will be the goal.
And one of the note with licenses and permits, it wasn't put in here yet, but we're gonna have a line item added for what the potential revenue would be for tobacco licensing that, or we're not gonna worry about that.
Yeah, we can put that, it'll be half a year, but
Right, I know.
yeah, we can estimate that. I don't think that's broken out in there currently.
No, it's not. When I look at licenses and permits, we had the liquor licenses and that, but not anything on tobacco yet. We had gaming, zoning.
Yeah, well, after tonight, yeah, we have tonight's meeting with that, but yeah, we will, we'll estimate that and put in there for the rest of that year. That should be fairly straightforward.
Any further discussion or? Item number 7, discussion recommendation of ordinance number 2023-18, section 2, 121, village administrator. This is brought up by myself, and I am put together a motion that right now in our municipal code, we have an incorrect, not updated, it should say not updated ordinance for the village administrator process, it's not publicly available, so there's creating some confusion, but my recommendation was to move it from the current one to the 2022 edition, which is the one that's currently on the municipal code, section 2-121, village administrator. So I'd like to put that forward and see if you got a motion for that.
Make a motion. So move.
What's the motion to?
To go back to the,
Yeah, to replace the one that's currently, on there, which is item chapter 22, article 1, section 2-121, as amended in 2023 to the section 2.121, 2022.
Okay, and I see it says 2022 at the bottom of page 1,
Right.
but it was actually, if I'm reading this right, it was approved in November of 2013.
Well, it's the recodification.
Yeah, so, and this is what's on Municode. And it's basically the change is, well, we have a motion in a second, so we're just general discussion. The basic change is subsection B lays out a much more elaborate selection and appointment process. I had identified my concern that in the first sentence of section 1, it identifies the ad hoc committee as the president and 2 trustees. Anytime 3 members of the corporate authority meet, it's a public meeting. It has to be noticed that it's a majority of a quorum. So it's a very cumbersome process if you're going to have 3 members of the corporate authority be the ad hoc committee, because every time you can't text each other, it's in real time. You can't email each other back and forth in real time. And if you're going to meet, you have to notice it out 48 hours ahead of time, has to be in a public place, and you have to invite the public into the meeting. And I mentioned this to Trustee Simon, he said, well, let's make it 2 instead of 3.
Well, my feeling is the reason is for transparency. This is nothing that's going to be done at a frequent basis. This is, hopefully this is something that, this is not something that would be an unusual thing where we'd want the public and we would like to have full transparency as a village. So to me, I think that that's the way it was written originally, and the village proved that it was fine. So to me, it may create some administration burdensome, but it's at the expense of transparency. So there's an opportunity to talk. You can always go into executive session if we talk about specific numbers and those types of things.
Yeah, I just felt the need to point out that I wasn't sure everybody was aware that because it was a 3-person ad hoc.
Well, and the other point is, this is already in the village municipal code. If you look it up, this is what we thought it was. It was never updated. So the public, in general, it becomes the sort of ad hoc amended agreement, because it's never been updated for years,
But
particularly.
it is what is in Municode.
Right, so we're asking to just basically keep it, just amend it to the original. So I have do you guys
Let me
want-
revert to the 2013 version. Is what you're,
the version that I have right here?
2013,
That's
the original.
That
date of
is the
it,
2013.
Is it
It was,
2013?
it was, it says right on here that it was recodification, codification, but this is the only thing I can find, because this is the only thing that was handed to me. Because it's not in the Muni code, but it says recodification codified through ordinance number 2022-10, adopted on